On this week's episode of Clearing the Air, I'm really looking forward to catching back up with Justin Tribbet. He has been a really important part of this project from the beginning, and we'll talk about how many Mainers are currently working on this project, what's to come, and how many new jobs we're going to look to, and also talk about the referendum and what that means for the hardworking Mainers on this project, but also what it means to the future of Maine. I'm Thorn Dickinson. This show allows me to talk with Mainers working on the most important clean energy project to ever come to our state. We discuss how this project is providing jobs and other benefits today while creating clean energy for a better tomorrow. Justin, thank you for doing this. And by the way, I love the shirt.
Oh, thanks. I like it too.
Justin, maybe we just start off by reminding people what your role is on the project.
Sure. I'm one of the engineers by discipline, but I sort of have a broader role, sort of helping manage the overall effort on the project. I've been involved really since the very beginning, 2015 timeframe, where I was sort of one of the lead folks on the bid effort. And then my role has transitioned through the engineering phase, procurement phase, and now we're sort of in construction, which I'm helping manage several of the contracts on the project.
And last time we got together in Augusta for the show, we were right on the edge of the Department of Energy approval. So we were hoping that was our last of a 3.5-year process with all our regulatory processes. And we're hoping if we got that, we're getting prepared to hopefully start construction. Maybe tell from your perspective all the things that have kind of transpired since that period of time from a construction perspective.
Sure. As I mentioned, we're sort of evolving now. We're into the construction phase of the project where, the concept that many of us worked on, 6-7 years ago, now we're taking that and actually putting it into practice in the field. Right now on the HVDC line, we've got something like 2/3 of the corridor cleared. We've got right around 51 poles set, and we continue to make excellent progress. Probably one of the most amazing things for me is just to see the team grow. I mean, we started out with such a small group, let's say half a dozen of us, something of that nature. And, latest count is we're around 600 workers, 3 out of 4 of those are from Maine, which is, for me, super exciting. Mainers like me that have got these great job opportunities, so.
From here now, what do you see as the next steps? What are we looking at, and what are the phases of the project construction that will become important in the coming months?
The converter in the Lewiston area, that's an ongoing work effort that started this spring. Basically, we're at about 80% of site completion for the pad itself, so the civil work. Continuing south in an area kind of near and dear to my heart, sort of where I grew up and where I went to high school, we're actually currently working on reinforcements between Wiscasset and Windsor as to what's next. We've got several tenders that are open right now. We've got the substation construction tender, which is open. We've got a StatCom, which is a voltage support device down in the Buxton area that's out for bid right now. And I think everybody is already aware, but I mean, the company has pledged and through the PUC to give preference to Maine workers and Maine companies as part of that selection process. I mean, I'm very excited to see, that number, the 600 workers we have now evolve. We expect hundreds to come and further enhance our team, hire more Mainers like me and others. And again, just really exciting time in the process. So,
for you, what is the experience now? Obviously, you saw the first pole go up. I know we had a quiet celebration as a team when we put the 50th pole up. When you start seeing the project constructed, as opposed to just being kind of the first idea sketched on a piece of paper, what does it mean to you?
I mean, for me, this is really a once-in-a-career type project. I mean, for a utility engineer such as myself, I mean, starting from this concept of creating this link between 2 different regions, if you will, that's going to be able to pass 1,200 megawatts. And 1,200 megawatts, it's going to be there, every hour of every day, pretty much. It's not dependent on the sun. It's not dependent on whether the wind is blowing. I mean, for me, it's very exciting. I mean, it's creating this, let's say, base generation that's going to be in the system at all times. So we're seeing the system transition from a system that's very dependent on fossil fuels to one that's more focused on renewables and able to obtain the generation we need to maintain our standard of living from these renewable sources, you know, such as hydro, wind, and solar.
Justin, one of the other things that's come up since the last time we talked on clearing the air was the referendum. And obviously we have right title and interest to the whole project, most of which we own. We've passed all the 3.5 years of permitting, and now we're up to referendum. What's your perspective on the referendum, and you know, what do you say to people that might ask you about what does it mean and what does it mean to you?
I actually was talking to my father the other day, and he brought up this point to me that, and he sort of sees the world, he's concerned that in Maine that the sort of the middle class is sort of disappearing, and there's going to be this let's say have and have nots, you know, and the working middle class isn't going to be present. I really see this project, you know, my role and the role of the 600 other folks, as a way to help preserve the working middle class for the state of Maine. And I mean, furthermore, the actual language of the referendum and what's trying to be done, I mean, I'm concerned that that even more closes the door for not just this project, but more the precedents that you've got you know, a company that's invested a tremendous amount of money, has all their permits, owns the land, and now retroactively there's going to be a public process where people are going to vote and decide whether it's going to be canceled. I mean, for me, I just worry for my kids. I mean, I worry for the whole state, really, that there's going to be no working middle class if this is allowed to go through in its current form.
And one of the discussions that I've had with a few people is, imagine you owned a piece of property, you built a house on it, but then you were able to save a little bit more money, you're a hard-working person, and you think about, well, I should subdivide this and maybe build a house for another member of my family. And then you hire your contractors to do it, you get all the equipment, you're working on the roof, you're about ready to close on it, and then some neighbor decides they don't like it and can then backdate and go back and have your permits that you've already worked hard on canceled, and all of the house would need to be torn down, and all the people that were working on it have to find other work to do. And when I find that, I find that kind of a message really resonates.
You know, I worry. I mean, obviously I have 2 young sons, and I'm hopeful that they'll be able to stay in the state, so my wife and I will be able to see them, watch our grandkids grow up in the state. And I mean, I want them to be part of the working middle class like I am, to be able to get jobs that are good and be able to have a reasonably, you know, good quality of life. And I'm really concerned that if this goes forward, it's really going to diminish their ability to do that and really affect our way of life here in the state of Maine. Honestly, I don't think many folks realize a lot of their friends and neighbors are probably working on the project, and if they're not working on the project, they're definitely benefiting in the project in some way, because the benefits are just so widespread when you start to think about it. Whether it's tax benefits or indirect impacts in the local communities, it's really such a widely impactful and beneficial project that I think everybody that takes a hard look will come around. Yeah.
Well, Justin, it's great to catch up again, and hopefully the next time we talk, we'll even have more great news to share on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Thorn. It's always a pleasure to do this, and good to talk with you, sir.
All right, great.
Thank you.